Why do most older people seem to fade after 80? Even those who were sharp, independent, and doing well just a few years earlier often begin to decline. And while many assume this shift is purely due to genetics or luck, that's only part of the picture. In this video, we're going to explore 5 unexpected reasons, often overlooked and rarely discussed, that can explain why so many older adults struggle to stay healthy and vibrant past 80. These aren't the usual suspects like poor diet, smoking, or lack of exercise. These are more subtle, deeper factors that often go unnoticed, even in people who have lived carefully and done most things right. The good news? Once you become aware of these hidden causes, you can start making small but meaningful changes. So if you've ever found yourself wondering what really gets in the way of longevity after 80, and what you can do to protect yourself or someone you love, stay with me until the end of this video. These 5 reasons might surprise you, but they could help you change the way you age before it's too late. Have you looked at someone close to you and thought, they've changed, but I can't explain why? Or maybe that someone is you. Let's get started. Number 1, the loss of micro-social engagement. One of the earliest and most overlooked reasons why older adults begin to fade after 80 is the quiet disappearance of something called micro-social engagement. We're not talking about your closest friendships or family visits. Those are still essential. But this is something smaller, more subtle. Think back for a moment. How often did you used to smile at your mail carrier, or trade a quick joke with the grocery store clerk? Maybe you gave a friendly wave to your neighbor walking their dog each morning. Those tiny social exchanges weren't just pleasant. They were doing something important. Can you remember the last time someone called you by name when you weren't expecting it? Or smiled at you just because you were there? They were helping regulate your nervous system, reinforcing your sense of belonging, and keeping your social brain sharp. But as people age, these daily touchpoints begin to fade. Many seniors stop going to the store and start ordering everything online. Others avoid casual conversations because their hearing isn't what it used to be. Some stop going outside because the weather feels too harsh, or their balance feels off. And slowly, without even realizing it, these small moments disappear. Along with them goes something vital: energy, joy, mental clarity. Most people think they're just simplifying life. But in reality, they're cutting out the little sparks of connection that signal to the brain and body. You still matter. You still belong. I once knew an older gentleman who, even in his mid-80s, remained mentally sharp. His secret? Every morning he'd walk to the same coffee shop, greet the same baristas, and nod to the same familiar faces on the corner. That 5-minute routine wasn't trivial. It was his lifeline. It gave his day structure, gave him purpose, and reminded him that he was still seen. And when that kind of connection fades, the brain feels it, the heart feels it, and little by little, vitality begins to fade too. The brain responds to loneliness, both the deep kind and the subtle kind, as a form of stress. It alters hormone levels, increases inflammation, and weakens your immune system. But perhaps most importantly, it begins to shrink the neural networks responsible for memory, attention, and emotional regulation. In simple terms, it makes you feel older, faster. So if you've noticed you're talking to people less during the day, skipping small errands, avoiding casual conversations, or feeling invisible in your own neighborhood, it's time to turn that around. Because even the briefest connections, the ones you might not even remember later, are quietly sending a message to your brain and your body. You still matter. You are still a part of something bigger than yourself. And that message, as small as it may seem, is one of the most powerful medicines for staying alive, not just in years, but in spirit. Number 2, overcautious inactivity. Another silent reason many older adults don't thrive past 80 is something that, on the surface, looks like wisdom: being careful. And yes, caution has its place. But there's a line between being careful and becoming overly cautious. Once that line is crossed, the effects might not show up right away, but they always build over time. It often begins with the best of intentions. Maybe you slipped on the stairs once or had a close call on the sidewalk. So you start avoiding walks outside. You stop reaching for lower shelves or climbing into the back seat of a car. You sit more and stay sitting longer. People around you often praise your caution. Don't overdo it, they say. Better to be safe. And before you realize it, you've built a life that feels safe, but also still and stagnant. Here's what people don't talk about. When movement stops, so does strength. And not just in your arms or legs, but in your balance, coordination, and overall stability. Your body doesn't work like a machine that improves with rest. It's more like a garden. It needs constant attention and care. When activity slows, your body begins to weaken. One of the first areas affected is your core. Most people don't realize how crucial those deep trunk muscles are. You use them for everything: standing, walking, lifting, even getting out of a chair. If those muscles sit idle, even for a short time, they begin to shrink. And when that happens, your balance suffers. You feel unsteady. The cycle deepens. I once knew a man named Walter, age 82. He stopped his daily walks after a minor slip on a rainy day. No injuries, just a scare. But it was enough. He went from walking a mile every evening to sitting in front of the TV most nights. Within 6 months, he'd lost 10 pounds of muscle. His legs? They felt like jelly. His doctor warned him, but the damage had already begun. Walter didn't stop because he was weak. He became weak because he stopped. Have you been avoiding movement, not because you can't, but because you're afraid of what might happen? If so, you're not alone. Now, I'm not saying you should ignore real risks. There are smart and practical ways to protect yourself, like using handrails, wearing stable shoes, keeping walkways clear, or even using a cane if it makes you feel more secure. All of these are helpful. But there's a difference between managing risk and surrendering to it. When fear starts guiding your choices, your body slowly begins to forget how to move at all. So, ask yourself, are you truly protecting yourself, or are you slowly disappearing? If you found yourself moving less, not because you physically can't, but because you're afraid of what might happen, that's something worth noticing. Because staying alive after 80 isn't just about avoiding falls, it's about continuing to move. Carefully, yes, but consistently. Slowly, intentionally, and regularly. Movement tells your body that it's still needed. It keeps your systems running. It keeps your brain alert. It reminds your heart to keep pumping with purpose. So, if you're still here watching and finding these insights valuable, please comment number 2 below to let me know you're with us. And if you haven't subscribed yet, I invite you to do so and turn on the notification bell. Your support allows us to continue making content that informs, encourages, and uplifts. Now, let's move on. Number 3. Disrupted sleep cycles from irregular light exposure. There's a silent clock inside your body. It doesn't tick, and you can't hear it, but it controls almost everything. Your mood, your metabolism, your immune system, and even how your brain heals and resets at night. After age 80, this internal clock, known as your circadian rhythm, becomes especially sensitive. One of the biggest reasons this clock goes out of sync? Not enough natural light during the day and too much artificial light at night. At first, it's hard to notice. Maybe you've started napping more in the afternoon, or perhaps you don't go outside as often anymore, especially during colder seasons. Maybe your evenings are spent with the TV on, or the lights left bright while you read or scroll through your phone. These habits might seem harmless, but over time, they confuse your body. It stops knowing when to be alert and when to wind down. Your body relies on sunlight to stay in rhythm. Bright light in the morning signals your brain to wake up, get moving, and send energy where it's needed. On the other hand, darkness at night triggers the release of melatonin, the calming hormone that prepares you for deep, restorative sleep. But when you don't get enough natural daylight, or if your evenings are lit up with screens and lamps, those signals become scrambled. You may start to struggle with falling asleep or staying asleep. You might wake up groggy, even after being in bed all night. Your energy may drop during the day, or your memory may feel foggier than usual. Over time, poor sleep doesn't just make you tired, it weakens your immune system, makes your mood more fragile, and increases the risk of cognitive decline. And let's not forget about vitamin D, which your body makes when your skin is exposed to sunlight. After 80, your ability to produce vitamin D naturally drops, so daily light exposure becomes even more important. Without it, your bones, muscles, and immune system all take a hit. After age 80, your body's ability to produce vitamin D from sunlight significantly decreases. That's why regular outdoor exposure becomes even more important. Without it, your bones become more fragile, your muscles lose strength, and your immune system becomes less effective. I once spoke with a woman named Helen, who was 84 years old. She had been feeling unusually tired, foggy, and disoriented for weeks. Her doctor ran blood tests. Everything looked normal. Her diet hadn't changed, and she wasn't taking any new medications. On paper, she seemed fine. So, what was going on? The turning point came when her doctor gave her a very simple recommendation. Spend 20 minutes each morning sitting near a window with the blinds fully open, and turn off all screens, TV, phone, tablet, at least 1 hour before bed. It didn't involve medication. It didn't require a complicated new routine. Within 2 weeks of following this advice, Helen began sleeping better. She woke up more refreshed. Her memory became clearer. Her mood lifted. It wasn't a new pill. It was light. If you've been spending most of your time indoors, with the curtains closed, or if your evenings are filled with the glow of television screens or smartphone light, it may be time to make a change. Try stepping outside within an hour of waking up, even just for a few minutes. Sit on your porch, stand by the front door, or walk to the mailbox. Let your skin and eyes soak in that natural morning light. In the evening, do the opposite. Dim the lights, turn off screens. Let your body begin to wind down naturally. These subtle routines, bright mornings and calm evenings, aren't just about comfort. They are critical for survival and long-term health. You see, aging isn't just about wear and tear. Often it's about disorganization, systems falling out of sync. But when you get more natural light, sleep more regularly, and keep your daily rhythm, something powerful starts to happen. You help your body reorganize. You remind it that even at 85, you're still on schedule, you're still engaged, you're still here. Number 4, emotional suppression from loss and isolation. By the time many people reach their 80s, they've experienced more loss than most younger folks can fully understand. A beloved spouse, a sibling, a lifelong friend. sometimes even a child. And while the outside world may offer sympathy, it rarely acknowledges the deep, accumulating weight of those losses. Not just in your heart, but in your body. What often unfolds after 80 isn't just grief. It's emotional suppression. It's the habit of swallowing sorrow instead of speaking it. It's putting on a brave face because you feel like you should be used to it by now, or because there's no one left who really understands the depth of what you've been through. But here's a truth we rarely hear. The body doesn't forget. When grief isn't expressed, when it's not talked about, when it isn't shared or fully felt, it doesn't vanish. It lingers. And over time, that emotional burden becomes physical. It can disrupt your immune function. It can affect your digestion. It can rob you of sleep. It changes your hormones and keeps your nervous system in a constant state of low-level tension. The hardest part? It happens quietly. From the outside, you may seem perfectly fine. You may even tell yourself you're okay. But if your shoulders feel heavier, if your breathing feels shallower, or if your spark has dimmed just enough that you no longer recognize yourself, grief might be the reason, even if you haven't spoken of it in years. I remember a man named George, 86 years old, who lost his wife of 60 years. He didn't cry. He said it wasn't his way. He insisted he was doing fine. But over the next year, he began to fade. He lost weight. He stopped visiting the senior center. His sleep became restless. It wasn't illness. It was sorrow his body was still carrying. Is there someone you miss deeply but rarely speak about? Is there a part of your story that's never been told? You see, emotional pain doesn't need to be dramatic to be harmful. And by the time it shows up in your physical health, the connection isn't always clear. Those who live long, vibrant lives often have something else: emotional release. A way to let feelings out safely and regularly. It might be a trusted friend, a notebook, a faith community, or even a professional who helps them process their past. But they have a space to say things like, "I miss her. I still feel angry. I feel alone." And in that space, the heart breathes again. And when the heart breathes, the body can heal. Whatever form it takes, the principle is the same. What you express can start to heal. But what you keep buried inside, that pain doesn't go away. It grows quietly. So if you've been holding something in, not because you want to, but because you didn't know where to place it, it's time to make space. Not just for the sake of your emotions, but for your overall well-being. Because here's the truth. The heart can only carry so much before it starts to quietly shut down. If you want to thrive well past 80, not just exist, but truly live, you have to let yourself feel too. And if you're still watching this video and finding these insights helpful, please comment number 4 below to let me know you're here. If you haven't subscribed yet, I'd encourage you to do so and turn on the bell icon so you won't miss any of our upcoming content. Your support allows us to keep creating helpful videos that inform, encourage, and inspire. Now, let's move forward. Number 5. The gradual loss of daily purpose. One of the most invisible reasons many people don't thrive after 80 is the slow erosion of something many of us take for granted, until it's no longer there. That something is daily purpose. We're not talking about a grand life mission or some big legacy goal. This is about the small, everyday kind of purpose. The kind that gives you a reason to get out of bed in the morning. The kind that brings structure to your day and lets you know there's something, or someone, waiting for you. Purpose doesn't have to be big to be meaningful. It can be something as simple as watering your garden before the sun gets too hot, feeding the neighbor's cat who always shows up at your door, writing a short letter to your granddaughter, fixing a squeaky hinge on the back gate. These small routines may not seem like much, but they give your day shape, and more importantly, they give your life direction. But when these routines start to fade, when mornings come without a reason to move, and evenings arrive without anything to reflect on, something inside starts to go quiet. The body listens to the mind. And when the mind no longer sees a reason to push forward, the body begins to slow down too. You might notice your appetite fading, your energy dipping, your movement becoming sluggish. It's not because something is broken. It's because the systems that once kept you going are simply waiting for a reason to turn back on. And the tricky part? It often happens so gradually that it's easy to miss. Maybe your weekly bridge game got canceled. Maybe your church group stopped meeting. Maybe your kids visit less often. Or perhaps your favorite volunteer role ended because your knees started giving you trouble. You tell yourself it's part of aging, that it's normal. But deep down, you can feel it. The days blending together, each one quieter than the last. I remember meeting a woman named Ruth, who was 88 years old. She wasn't rich. She didn't have perfect health. She didn't have a large family surrounding her. But she had something incredibly powerful: consistency. Every Monday, she wrote postcards to shut-ins from her church. Every Thursday, she cooked soup and froze it for a local shelter. And every afternoon around 4 p.m., she sat at her window and watched the neighborhood kids walking home from school. She knew their names. She waved, and they waved back. It wasn't flashy, but it gave her days a rhythm. It gave her life a sense of continuity. It gave her heart something to beat for. That's the quiet secret no one talks about. The body stays alive as long as it believes it's needed. Purpose, even in its smallest form, is like fuel. It tells your cells to keep repairing. It tells your brain to stay engaged. It tells your heart, we still have something to do. When you lose that sense of meaning, when you start to believe that your presence doesn't matter to anyone or anything, that's when the flame inside begins to dim. That's why people who age with grace and vitality beyond 80 usually have something steady anchoring their day. It might be a garden, a Peter, a daily journal, a phone call, a morning prayer. It's not the size that matters. It's the consistency. It's knowing that when you open your eyes in the morning, there's a reason to rise. So, if you've been feeling a little adrift, like your days have lost their shape or meaning, don't brush it off. That feeling isn't just sadness, it's a signal. Your body is asking for rhythm again. It's craving structure, connection, and purpose. Because at the end of the day, longevity isn't just about having a heartbeat. It's about having a heart that still wants to beat. A quiet but powerful desire to keep going, to stay involved, and to still matter. That's what carries people beyond 80 into lives that continue to feel rich, connected, and full. What would make your next 10 years feel full? Not just long, but full of life? Final thoughts. As we wrap up this video, I want to leave you with a simple but powerful truth. Most people don't fade after 80 because of one big moment. It's not a diagnosis, a fall, or a birthday that changes everything. It's the slow and quiet fading of habits, daily rhythms, and reasons to stay engaged. And these changes often happen so subtly, so gradually, that you don't even notice them. Until one day, something inside feels dimmer than it used to. But here's the good news. Just as these shifts happen slowly, they can also be reversed. Slowly, steadily, one step at a time. One walk outside, one extra conversation with someone at the store, one small stretch in the morning. One thing you choose to do today, not because you have to, but because it brings structure, meaning, or connection. That's how things begin to turn around. So, think back to the 5 unexpected reasons we talked about today. Which one surprised you the most? Which one felt uncomfortably familiar? And more importantly, which one are you willing to take action on, even in the smallest way, starting today? Because the truth is, you have more power than you think. Not to stop aging, but to change the way you age. If you're willing to stay aware of the quiet shifts, to protect your rhythms, to guard your sense of purpose, and to allow yourself to feel what needs to be felt, then there's a real chance you won't just reach 80. You'll live well beyond it, fully, deeply, and on your own terms. Thank you for spending time with us today. We'd truly love to hear from you. Leave a comment below and share one thing you learned and how you plan to apply it in your life. Your thoughts matter to us. Reading your comments gives us motivation and encouragement to keep going. If you found this video helpful, please like, subscribe, and share it with someone who might benefit. Your support helps us continue creating meaningful content to inform and inspire. Thanks again for watching, and we look forward to seeing you in the next video.